All right, so some of my recent videos, the past couple especially, have been kind of controversial for one reason or another. And with that, I've had some comments that have been controversial as well, and then people that maybe don't like my opinion or maybe they want to have a discussion. Maybe some of them are not even want to have a discussion; they just don't like me for whatever reason. And so I wanted to make this video to talk a little bit about, how to have discussions and debates and how to disagree on things, because I think that's important, especially when it comes to online. So let's talk about that today. So first of all, I want to kind of distinguish between a couple of different types of comments that you might see online, especially, we're focusing primarily online because, I'm a YouTuber, because I'm seeing comments whether it's on YouTube, normally on YouTube. I have a Facebook page. I don't really use Twitter. I've got an Instagram, a TikTok, that kind of stuff. But I don't really use them that often. I'm primarily on YouTube, and then outside of that on Facebook. So these are where I see the comments and that kind of thing. And the first type of comment is the kind of comment where somebody who most likely feels like they have a lack of control in their life. Maybe they get bullied at school or bullied at home. They feel like they have some aggression, or so they have something they want to take out on people to make themselves feel better, and to get that rush. And that typically comes in the form of going online and finding somebody that you don't even have to disagree with them. It's just somebody that you think you can get a rise out of, and you'll make a comment. These particular people, I keep saying you, but what I mean is like these particular group of people will make comments, intentionally insightful comments, to try to rile up people and get people angry, and because it makes them feel good. They get that rush of, I just said something horrible and mean, on top of the fact that now they're getting responses from it. And it makes them feel powerful, it makes them feel in control. And these are more of the troll type comments that, honestly, online, they're the type of things you should be ignoring, reporting if they're breaking terms of service for whatever platform you're on, but in general, just ignoring them. And it's usually pretty obvious to tell when somebody's trolling as opposed to when somebody actually wants to have a solid discussion or debate. If they're blatantly ignoring facts that are being presented, if they are saying things that don't make sense or are completely off topic, those are typically heading in the troll direction, and those are the ones you want to get rid of and ignore. The ones that I really want to focus on are the ones that are more of trying to have conversations, but online it can be extremely difficult to actually have those conversations because you're not face to face. And it can be a lot easier to talk down to people and to say things that you wouldn't say face to face, because there's no real repercussions normally. Maybe you get banned from a site. Maybe you wind up in Facebook jail or something, But for the most part, there's not really any major repercussions. There's no physical harm that's going to come to you typically. That's not always the case, but it's more of a safer place to make those kind of arguments and disagreements, right? Realistically, what we should be practicing, especially online, face to face, it's a little bit easier, but online, you need to be practicing some restraint. And the best way to do that, and the thing that I think that goes with me the most, the thing that I learned a long time ago, is to not make these things the core of who you are. And what I mean by that is a lot of people, and especially when it comes to religion and politics, are two of the biggest ones. There's a reason they say don't talk about religion and politics, because those things, people tie their sense of identity, their sense of being, into religion and politics. So essentially, when you're attacking a political idea, a religious idea, people are more likely to take that personal as an attack on them because they are attaching themselves to that. So the first thing you can do is take a good inside look at yourself and say to really look at, what beliefs do I hold? What are the things that I am the nearest and dearest to my heart? And how can I detach those things from me as a person so that I can separate the ideas from myself? Because that way, if you truly believe in something, you believe something to be true, and somebody points out the facts to show you that no, this isn't true, and this is how we can show that it isn't true, it's a lot easier to then detach yourself and say, you know what? That actually does make sense. Maybe I'm wrong on that. And I'll use myself as an example because, as I mentioned in a previous video, I used to be a conservative Christian. And more Christian than conservative for a long time, getting into my adulthood. But I didn't really attach my Christianity as like myself. I saw it as this is something I believe in, but it wasn't my identity. It wasn't who I was. So when I started seeing things that challenged those ideas and challenged my beliefs, I was more open to them. I was more willing to say, okay, let's hear these things out. Because if an idea, if a belief is strong enough, it should be able to withstand scrutiny, if I can get the words out. So essentially, if you believe in something, you should be looking for things that might debunk or prove that thing wrong. And the more that you look at things and the more that thing is proven to be correct, the more confident you can be that it is most likely correct. So when it comes to religion, for me, I spent a lot of time going over, watching debates and lectures and learning more about what I believed and seeing the challenges to those beliefs until I came out eventually and was like, you know what? These beliefs don't really make a lot of sense. And so I shed those beliefs and I changed what I believed. And it's the same thing with politics. Like I said, Christian conservative. I was conservative for a long time. I would sit at home cleaning and stuff like that, listening to Rush Limbaugh back in the day. And Rush Limbaugh is about as far right as you can go. Even back, he's not around anymore, obviously, but even, back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, Rush Limbaugh was like the right wing of the Republican Party, right? And I would listen to him daily. That's how conservative I was, right? But over time, because those weren't my core, that wasn't who I was. That was what I believed. And so when things came along to challenge those things, I took an objective look and I said, okay, this is the challenge. This is what I currently believe. This is the difference. And maybe what I believe isn't really correct. I need to change my beliefs to match with reality, to match with things that make more sense. And these are on things like marriage equality and women's right to choose and that kind of stuff that are very big controversial topics today that I went from where I was, I had some pretty bad views. And I learned over time and got to the point to where I am today, where I'm like, yeah, you know what? Everybody deserves to be happy and everybody should be able, your healthcare should be your own choice and all that kind of stuff. And so I got to that point because I was able to look at those views objectively. And there's still things that I look at because I look at all of my views all the time. And when it comes to politics specifically, like budgeting and all that kind of stuff, it gets into a lot of really complicated things. But the ultimate thing I'm trying to say here is you need to be able to examine your own beliefs. And when you're wrong about something, when something isn't correct, you need to be willing to say, yeah, I was wrong, or change your beliefs, because it doesn't mean that you were wrong. It just means that your beliefs, they need to be tweaked, they need to be changed to closer match what should be or what is in reality. And the next thing, once you're able to do that, is be able to have conversations with people talking about those things from a common sense standpoint. Being able to say, I believe this thing, but this other person disagrees with me. Why do they disagree with me? And using the Socratic Method, Socrates was a philosopher way, way, way back when. And the Socratic Method is basically asking questions, digging deeper. Why do you believe this? Why is that true? Why is this true? And just digging down to the core to find out what exactly is at the core of that belief and whether that's accurate or not. And being able to have conversations respectfully with people. Don't attack people individually. If you're having a discussion with somebody about something that you vehemently disagree with online, be able to have those discussions and realize that it's not the person, it's the idea that you're going after. It's okay to attack, make fun of ideas even. But when it comes to the person, you need to be respectful to the person. You need to understand that you don't get to choose your beliefs. So somebody having a different belief than you, they didn't choose to have that belief. It's not like they see your belief and their belief and they chose which one they wanted. You have beliefs based on your life experience, based off of your personality, based off of your culture. There's a million things that go into what your beliefs wind up being. The one thing that you do have control over is how closely you tie those beliefs to your personal self, as opposed to realizing that those beliefs are an external thing that you need to be cognizant of, and you need to be willing to change if the conditions are right. Because somebody who sits there and says, I don't care what the facts or evidence are, I'm going to believe what I want to believe regardless, that's somebody who's unwilling to change. And ultimately, that's not a good thing for people in general. You need to be willing to look at your beliefs and be willing to have discussions, the difficult, hard discussions, things that people typically disagree on. And that's where, I'll trail off a little bit here as we get to the end of the video, but some of these videos and stuff that I've been putting out, specifically the one about getting God out of government, very controversial. It's weird that that's controversial, but hey, here we are. It's 2024. But that is something that I strongly believe. And I will sit there and I will have a very intense discussion, or I will get intense on camera. I will get intense person to person. Job I used to have, I would get in very heated discussions. There's another guy that I worked with that was very much like me in that sense. And we would sit there and we would have really heated discussions where our voices kind of got a little raised, to the point where people around us thought we were pissed off at each other, that we were angry with each other. And we weren't. We would have these heated discussions, and then as soon as the discussion was over, we're laughing and cracking jokes, because we both were able to have that realization of, hey, we're having a debate on ideas. This isn't a personal thing. And when you can detach the personal from the ideas, that's when you start to really, really get good at having the discussions. And you can wind up being right more often. My goal is to be right as often as possible. If I don't really, truly believe something, if I don't really, truly know what I'm talking about, I try to kind of back down the tone on it. And when I'm challenged on those things, especially the things that if it's something that I have really focused on and really learned a lot about, and somebody challenges me on those things, I'll hear what they have to say. And it might take a little bit to sink in. I might disagree with them at first, but if they make sense and if they're coming at it from a logical standpoint and they're right, I'd rather say, okay, you know what, I was wrong, and correct so that next time that I'm right, rather than entrench myself deeper and say, no, I refuse to go with what you're saying. No, you can't do that. It just doesn't make sense. And it's not a good way to have healthy debates and discussions. So, in my videos, I'm going to get at times, and there will be videos like this where I talk about, just general kind of stuff, or debate tactics and that kind of thing. There's going to be a lot of politics, a lot of religion, because those are topics that really interest me. And I'm trying to find a way to share things with the world that I have experienced and things that I think and feel, and because I know there's other people out there that feel the same way that I do. And there's people that would have the disagreement with me, and that's fine. If you want to have a disagreement in the comments, I'm perfectly okay with that. Don't be surprised if you get a long, long response. On the Keeping God Out of Government video, I had somebody that made what was very clearly an anti-choice comment, barely a sentence long, and I responded with like 4 or 5 paragraphs. So don't be surprised if you get a long-winded comment in response to whatever you say. If I think that your comment is in good faith, I'll have a discussion. We can have a debate. We can talk. You can come over to the Discord. We can continue the conversation over there. So there's all that kind of stuff. If I think that you're just there trying to, provoke people or push people's buttons, your comment's going to go away. You know, I don't hesitate to remove comments that I think are going to be detrimental to the conversation, because at the end of the day, it's the internet. And there's a lot of people out there that are going to have those that are just trying to provoke and push. And those people, they don't deserve to be a part of the conversation. If all you're trying to do is provoke and push, you shouldn't be in the conversation. You really shouldn't. You know, the kind of people, being a part of the conversation means being willing to listen as well as speak your mind, and being willing to be able to go back and forth with people in a positive manner, in a constructive manner. So that's where I'm at. I wanted to get this video out and talk a little bit about that, because specifically all of the stuff that the comments on my last couple of videos, there's been some really good ones. And then there's been a couple that were just that weren't good. And so I wanted to kind of get this out and talk about it, because I think it's very important, and especially going into the election this year. You know, share your opinions, share your thoughts. I accept other people. You know, I accept that everybody's going to have different opinions and different thoughts, and I'm interested to hear your topic, your points of view, because I can be wrong. I'm fallible. You know, I'm willing to accept if I am wrong on something, but you got to do it in a respectful, calm manner where we can have the discussion and debate. So that's all I wanted to say for this one. It's been it's a little longer than I expected it to be, but I'll throw the names of the patrons up here. I probably put them in the beginning too, but you know, if you want to join on Patreon, other stuff going over there, we can continue discussions, and we got a Patreon only channel on Discord, private messages. We've got a bunch of different stuff going up there. I've got some plans for things coming up, but honestly, it's been kind of a hectic week for me. I haven't had a lot of chance. I've been a little sore. I had surgery last week, so I've been a little sore and stuff like that. So I've been trying to recover and take my time and relax a little bit. So it's been one of those kind of weeks, but I do want to thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments what you know, how do you look at debates and that kind of stuff? Is there any kind of beliefs or things that you would like to have the discussion on? I'd be willing to take topics for future videos. So let me know that down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Otherwise, I'll put up, as becoming tradition, a picture of a puppy at the end of the video here. So everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.
Coming around the river bank where the old train whistle sang. The very next thing you hear from me, I've been tied to a ball and chain.